Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Yep, Charlamagne the God, Angela Yee. We are the Breakfast Club. DJ Envy is off today, and we got a guest who is running for City Council for District 36
My
here in New
district
York.
in Brooklyn.
That's right. He is the son of royalty, Mr. Osse.
Thank you guys for having me. What up, what up, what up?
What's up, my brother? How
I know
are you?
Chi since he was a little baby.
I know, right? You've seen me grow up.
So let's talk about that because I do know your parents, right? Reggie Osse, a.k.a. Combat Jack. And
The legend.
Kim, who also owns the bakery on Bergen, and she's had several businesses in Brooklyn. So how did having them as your parents shape you into becoming someone who's running for City Council?
Absolutely. You know, my parents were definitely influential in my life. Being black in this country is political in and of itself, and that's something they've raised me always to be aware of. One, to be proud of the color of my skin, but two, to always be aware of how dangerous it is for me to be a black person in this country. And I never thought, I would jump into politics. My parents aren't that political people, as I would say, but they forged this bond between culture and politics in my upbringing, and that's made its way into my run for City Council today.
So why are you running? Why are you running?
I'm running because I grew up in a community that, exists with haves and have-nots. There's so many inequalities within Bed-Stuy and Crown Heights, whether it's underfunded public education, underfunded public housing, over-policing, yet crime continues to rise. And the people that are doing this, or at least responsible for it, are our local electeds. They're supposed to be governing for us, but instead they're governing for people that are lobbying within our city government, whether it's police unions, real estate developers, fossil fuel interests, and we see that day in and day out with the livelihoods of the people that live within the community. And I'm fed up and want to change that.
And you're only 22 years old.
I'm 23.
23
Yes.
now. Okay, let me correct myself. But I think that's interesting too. You'll be the youngest person to ever actually occupy the seat if you win.
Right, I will be. I will be the youngest person, and I believe the youngest black elected in New York City.
Tell me about this Warriors in the Garden movement you started.
Absolutely. So last year when George Floyd was murdered, I, like many Americans in this country, took to the streets to protest against the inequalities that black people experience within this country when it comes to law enforcement. And I founded an activist collective called Warriors in the Garden. We were at the forefront of the Black Lives Matter protests last year. We helped repeal 50A on the state level, aided in ending, or at least starting the first steps of ending qualified immunity on the city council level. And we continue to do mutual aid within communities such as Bed-Stuy and in Harlem. That was the start of I guess, my both activist and political awakening, but I understood that the work shouldn't stop there, and took the leap of faith and jumped into the city council race.
So this is when you first decided you wanted to do politics. Before that, you didn't have any interest.
I never thought I would be able to.
Right.
I'm young, I'm black, I'm queer. I never graduated from college, and I've always loved politics. Bernie Sanders really brought me into the fold in 2016. I was really inspired by how he built this coalition of young people, of older people, the working class fighting for the same cause, but never thought I would be included within this political space.
That's why representation matters a lot, right? To see somebody who, like you said, is young, you're queer, you're black, never graduated from college. And I always feel like more people need to run for office. But for some reason, people think that they don't have the capability to do that. They think that you have to have a ton of money to be able to do that, a certain level of education. And so that's important to see somebody like yourself even being able to represent. And I've seen you all over the news and everything. So when did your campaign start to gain steam?
Yeah, I think we hit the ground running. I jumped in a year ago on Juneteenth. There was a lot of talk about a young person running for city council, but I think when we really started picking up momentum was when we got endorsed by the Working Families Party, which is a political organization that has fought for a $15 minimum wage, universal child care, and I'm the youngest candidate they've ever elected in New York City history. And it really gave this viability to our campaign because they're proven champions in fighting for working class individuals, and to have them give me that endorsement really propelled us forward. And then we got endorsed by AOC. Yeah.
How did that happen?
Yeah, we're the progressive choice in the 36th district. We've been fighting hard for the people within this community, whether it's food distribution, fighting for homeowners, for tenants, for those that are unsheltered, and we were recognized as being the fighter for people of our community, and AOC's PAC chose us to be the only candidate within the district to be endorsed.
What's the biggest problem in your district that you think needs to be addressed immediately, ASAP?
ASAP, I would say the rat problem and the
Yes.
sanitation
The rat
problem.
Listen, I'm
Yes,
so,
yes.
I always say this on the air. I am so scared on garbage pickup day
Right.
the night before when I got to walk down the block. I am terrified that a rat is going to run across my foot or something
Yeah.
like that. It's awful. I have to look outside and peek up and down the block before I even, it's really bad.
It's crazy, and everyone sees it as a secondary issue. You know, you hear these
It's
large,
awful.
lofty proposals of affordable housing and reforming public safety, which is a part of my platform, but sanitation isn't secondary.
Yeah.
You know, it's contingent on poverty and crime. You know, our sanitation department
And
was
it's just in our neighborhoods. Like, you
Yeah.
don't see it in, the
Cobble Hill or
Yeah,
Park
it's
Slope.
fine. Everything's clean.
We're like top 3 in New York City for most infested rat communities.
and the sewers are all stopped up with garbage, and it's like makes flooding in the street. It's awful.
Right. It shows our people that the government isn't there for them nor cares for them, and that's an immediate problem I do want to change.
I feel like that go hand in hand, no sanitation and housing, because you wouldn't want to live in an area that's rat infested.
Absolutely, yeah. And also, you know, we're in a community that's in the middle of gentrification. You know, these large developments that are being built left and right
That
increases
causes
the rat
rats.
problem
Yeah.
as well.
Why don't
Because
you
once they
tell-
start doing construction, all the rats come running outside.
Yeah.
Tell the white people that's gentrifying, the rats didn't come till y'all got here.
Right. Listen, I always say I always say that the color of gentrification isn't white. You know, the color of gentrification is green.
That's right.
You know, our electeds are taking money from these unsustainable developers that are actively displacing our neighbors. So
Now, a lot of people would probably say your youth is a weakness, right? Being in politics. Why would you tell people it's a strength?
yeah, I mean, first and foremost, let's look at some of our renowned black leaders in the world, you know, whether it's Fred Hampton, who passed away at 22, Martin Luther King, you know, got started at a very young age. The youth has been the forefront within the black community for social and political change. And that's something that I'm holding dearly within this run. You know, I think when people have been in office for, 20, 30 years or have been in the political atmosphere for that long as well, they get jaded. You know, they get tied to individuals that don't have our community's best interest in heart. You know, I'm not telling my future constituents, hopefully, that I have all the answers. No candidate nor elected does. But what I will do is co-govern with my community, include my community at the decision-making table to make sure that we're getting things done for all of us rather than a select few.
Chi, I want to ask you about your journey of coming out, right? Because you told us you're the first person that will be in this seat that's queer. What was that like for you? How hard was that?
Yeah, I mean, coming out was, it's easier doing it in New York City, I would say, than in some other states or even countries. But, I had a very accepting family. You know, my father, I think there's this stereotype that does exist that black fathers are extremely homophobic, which can exist in some cases, but my father wasn't. And having his, badge of approval when I told him, with tears in my eyes was one of my most cherishable moments that I've had with him. And it's given me the strength that I still hold today doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's interesting what you said, because I always say people, when they talk about homophobia, sometimes they forget people fear what they don't understand, but I think we're at a place now where it's so much information out there, and the only thing you really have to understand is that, gay people deserve the same rights as everybody else.
Right. Yeah, we're all fighting for our rights. We can't be black and then also be homophobic, because we are all fighting against the same oppressor, and that is, white straight men.
Now, what about the crime in Crown Heights? What about the crime in Crown Heights and
Old white straight
Bed-Stuy? We talked about, like you said, the sanitation issue we've been having and the rats, but what about that? It's been...
Yeah, gun violence and crime exists within our communities, and we're seeing, the police budget grow and have that be the only solution to our crime. But I think that's, a racist narrative. The fact that our system believes that black people are inherently violent results in us having, police that are hurting our people. Let's think about why crime happens and why crime is on the rise. Either people don't have food on their table, money in their pockets, or a roof over their heads. And they resort to other measures in order to get those resources to just survive. Rather than growing this police budget and having people, kneel on our necks, why don't we fund our public education systems, fund our housing systems, fund jobs, a Green New Deal for New York City, give people the tools to become citizens that do not have to hurt one another and commit crimes to just eat a meal at the end of the day or provide a meal for their kids and family.
Yeah, so reallocate the money from the police department to the communities that need it.
Right.
You notice I don't say defund the police.
Yeah. I mean,
reallocate.
I think the right did a really good job at flipping defund on its head. People think that in communities like ours, it means that we're getting rid of police on the streets. No, it means that we're taking a look at a waste of money that is police helicopters scouring our skies every night when they're not catching people, or those surveillance robotic dogs. I don't know if you've seen those. They cost about $75,000 for one of them. Meanwhile, our public school teachers receive $250 a year to pay for school supplies.
Crazy.
You know, when we look at our priorities and see where the funding is lacking, it explains a lot for why our communities have been this way for X amount of time.
And what about small businesses during this pandemic? Obviously, I would think that you have an entrepreneurial spirit, just having seen your parents be entrepreneurs, but it's been tough for a lot of businesses.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about
Absolutely. Well, in the United States, about 40% of black businesses went out of business this past year throughout the pandemic. And we've seen the toll that it's taken on our small black businesses in Bed-Stuy and Crown Heights. You know, as a son of a local business owner, I've seen the hardships that my mother endured during the pandemic to even achieve grants to keep her business open. This is a similar experience that women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses have when it comes to municipal government. Something that I want to do when I'm the next city council member of this district is, one, have deeper awareness campaigns so that our small businesses know what grants are out there for them, what decent loans are out there for them to survive, and two, be a resource that they can go to make sure that they have an easier pathway of getting those loans, you know, and having individuals within this community giving advice rather than, again, you know, a straight white man that doesn't live in the community, you know, not understanding the experience and maybe denying them of that loan because of credit or what's so not.
What do you think about the police? Because, you know, I saw the NYC Pride Parade. They said they weren't going to have police this year. Do you think that's a smart move?
Yeah, I don't think we should have police at Pride. You know, we're in a climate right now where people feel unsafe with police presence, or at least queer people do. You know, as someone that was protesting this past year, a lot of the leaders of the Black Lives Matter protests were queer and trans organizers. Shout out to the Stonewall protests. And they've been out there week after week after week being beaten and arrested and maimed by police officers. And they're the very people that are leading, you know, Pride. So I understand their gripes with the NYPD. I understand them not wanting them at Pride. There's a leader of the movement called Joella Rivera who just had an amazing speech last week saying she's never had to call the police this past year because the community takes care of the community. And that's a model that I want to use with my governing. You know, we protect us. The black community has always protected the black community. And that should be exemplified within our public safety and within all of our systems.
You don't think it makes your community a little bit more vulnerable at the parade? Like if somebody wanted to do something to make a bad statement, right? They could take that opportunity because they know it's not going to be any police present.
They're going to get their ass beat.
Right, they're going to get their ass beat, one. But two, you know, if something was going to happen, it would have happened even if police were there. And police are going to show up even if it does happen anyways. You know, the police don't prevent crime. They always show up when it happens. And that's probably what's, you know, God forbid that happens on Pride. But if it did, I mean, it would just exemplify public safety as we know it today already.
What do you think about our president and vice president now?
Complacent.
Very.
I saw Kamala Harris talk about, who is she talking to? Don't come to this country, all the immigration stuff.
Yeah.
It's listen, I always tell people, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, our federal government, it's mainly useless. You know, we need to vote in local elections. Joe Biden's not going to clean up our streets. They're not going to put food on our table. They're not going to help us with our infrastructure as we know it. It's our local electeds. And we need to be voting, you know, in local races, city council, the mayoral race, researching the candidates that are fighting for us and making sure that they get in and holding them accountable. We do need a vote in every election. I do say to do that, but I'd rather people do it in local elections rather than, you know, who our president and vice president are.
Well, she will be holding you accountable.
Please do.
In my district 36 in Brooklyn.
Please do.
And Chi, did you ever think about getting into podcasting just to follow in the footsteps of your legendary father?
listen, I never thought I would get into politics, so I'll never say never on that question too.
I mean, you never even thought about it, like.
No, I actually do not like the sound of my own voice.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Do you guys?
Nope. Never.
Oh no, do we like the sound of your
Yeah,
voice
that's
or our
what I'm
voices?
saying.
I never like
Damn,
the sound of
you.
my own
Do you like
voice.
the sound of your own
Yeah,
voice?
no, it's
Okay.
hard.
Do you like the sound of my voice?
Like, I don't like the sound of your voice either. Gee.
I like every time I hear like an interview like of myself, I'm like, it's
Yeah,
hard
no,
to get
I think
through.
a lot of people feel that way
Yeah.
about their own voice.
Not only because it's just another way to reach people. You know what I'm
Right,
saying? And,
right.
you know, as far as what you're doing, you talk about how your parents helped you bridge the gap between culture and politics. Like you're that bridge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'll never say never. Maybe I'll get a deal from iHeartRadio someday, right?
And
And
next time, bring us some of those chocolate chip cookies
I
from
got
the
it.
bakery on Bergen with the sea salt.
Absolutely. I gotta bring you some chocolate chip cookies from the bakery. Have you tried them?
They're amazing.
Okay.
I don't like the fact that you had cookies and didn't bring them. Like you're trying to win, aren't you?
Right.
All right.
You can't give things to press, right? You can't.
I don't know.
Take a cookie.
Okay.
That's under a certain amount of money.
Right.
Why city council?
City council because I'm from my community and I feel like I've experienced I have a surplus of life experience within this community, and I feel like the city council member is somebody that can affect that life experience for someone else. I think our state senators and state assembly members, they're great and they do help the state out on many different issues. But I'm in the now, I'm in the present. I'm seeing the again inequalities that exist in my community day in and day out, and I want to be the next person that can help create some real change. And everlasting change within this community.
Well, your grandfather and your father would be so proud of you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Father's Day was rough, but beautiful yesterday.
All right.
Yeah.
Osse, tell them where to find you, man. Give them your Twitters and Instagram and all that good stuff.
My Instagram and Twitter is OSSE2021. You can check out my website at osse2021.com as well. Bed-Stuy and Crown Heights. Please vote for me on June 22nd. Let's create the change that we so deeply need, and vote for the future of our city.
And regardless what happens, man, I know your father is smiling down on you right now, man. I know he's proud.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
It's my man Osse. He's running for city council for District 36 in New York. It's the Breakfast Club.